It's funny how most of us would chase the epic, the craziest experiences, from like skydiving to doing something that would look amazing on paper. Bucket list items, collecting things that other people would deem amazing, something that would make our Instagram explode. But the truth is that once you do it enough, once you go for every epic opportunity out there, once you start crossing off the things on your bucket list, life may become a bit empty, or doing the epic is no longer epic. It's normal. It's boring sometimes. It's emotionless, apathetic. And in my life, I remember I was sitting in Bali and I would rent a motorcycle and I would go across the island, climb a mountain, talk to girls, do some crazy stuff that other people think is really ridiculously cool. But to be frank, compared to the other things I've done, like I've gone skydiving, I kite surfed on Necker Island with Richard Branson, I surrounded myself with amazing human beings, people I admire, great mentors. I've been to over 70 countries and I can keep the list going. But the truth is, me having experienced all those things actually diminished what the other perceived epic experiences are. I realized that the more epic doesn't mean I'm happier. It doesn't mean that I'm having the quality of life increased. In fact, it was the opposite. The more epic shit I would do, and the more of nothingness I would experience, the more of normal kind of blur gray zone I would experience, I would realize that in reality there is nothing that can impress me. So that put me in a pretty bad mental space, and I didn't know what to do. I thought, hey, like, I can do more things, I can try more, but is that going to bring me the ultimate fulfillment in life? Then I talked to a friend of mine. We were just taking a walk on the beach, and none of my mentors, none of my friends could tell me like what to do. They would give me like the coaching advice, but nothing honestly would work. And my life has changed once I heard this. At some point, the big things, they're no longer big. When you're a kid, you're seeing the world for the first time, everything is new, everything is exciting, you're doing everything for the first time, eating a food for the first time, traveling to a new country for the first time. But once you've done enough, nothing can impress you. And what the girl said just changed my life and changed everything. The subtle. It's about seeing the small subtleties, the smallest changes in the world, and they become intriguing. You, instead of looking for the grand, you're looking for the small. For me, a good example was with food. As I told you, I've been to 70 countries and I've tried all different types of food. I've tried a centipede, I've tried a spider, I've tried a snake, I've tried like the craziest things there is to try. But honestly, the number of things out there in the world that I can eat probably is more or less exhaustible, and they're not all that pleasurable and good to eat. Yeah, you ate an insect, yeah, you ate a spider, but like, what does it do? So for me, thinking about like the grand experiences in food specifically, there's not much I can do. And then that was the moment when I learned how to cook like a chef. That completely changed the way I look at food, because I realized instead of looking at food from one dimension, there's so many more dimensions that I didn't see before. I was blind to. The fact of just smelling the food and realizing that smell contributes to, honestly, at least 30% of what you're tasting, to like hearing the food, thinking about how the food would taste before even putting it in your mouth, that completely changed the way I experienced something. So instead of going for something big, something new, something I've never tried before, how can I taste the food I have access to from a new perspective? How can I taste something I've never tasted before? How can I notice the subtleties, the notes that were not accessible to me? How can I feel food with all of my senses as opposed to just shoveling it in while watching some content online? So I just stood here for a few minutes and I thought, how can I notice something subtle? And a beautiful example of this is this wall, which seems pretty random, It seems pretty self-evident. We're next to a playground, it's for kids, ice cream, candy, whatever, right? But then I thought, like, what else do I see? And then I saw the marijuana plant that is pretty much cut out of the ice cream. And then the other one. So maybe after all, it's not art for kids, but it's art for both. What else can you see there? I'm sure if you look closely enough, if you look at these same old things from a new perspective, the big things I can exhaust, but the small things, there are infinite amount. So what are the small things that you can observe in your life and that can make you happy? Till next time.